A bubble canopy is a canopy made without bracing, which attempts to provide 360 degrees vision to the pilot. History. Bubble canopies have been in use since before World War II, with some experimental bubble canopy designs in the World War I era. The British had already developed the Malcolm hood, which was a bulged canopy, but the British Miles M20 was one of the first aircraft designs to feature a true one-piece sliding bubble canopy. Although it never went into production, the concept of the bubble canopy was later utilized on other British aircraft, such as the Hawker Typhoon and Tempest. It was also later fitted to the P-51 Mustang and P-47 Thunderbolt amongst others. A well-framed version of an all-around vision canopy was also used on the Mitsubishi A6M0 Japanese naval fighter, and different designs with much less framing than the Zero had were used on the Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service's Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar and Nakajima Ki-84 Frank land-based fighter planes. The Bell 47 helicopter was the first production helicopter certified for civilian use in the United States, and in its Model 47D version, pioneered the soap bubble style canopy for light helicopters, as named by its designer, Arthur M. Young, that it and the 47G model were to become famous for. Purpose. The purpose of a bubble canopy is to give a pilot a much wider field of view than flush, well-framed greenhouse canopies used on early World War II aircraft, such as those seen on early models of the F-4U P-51, the Soviet Yak-1 and earlier Razorback P-47 fighters, all with dorsal turtledecks integral to the fuselage lines, which left a conspicuous blind spot behind the pilot that enemy pilots could take advantage of to sneak up on an aircraft. The open cockpit design combat aircraft of World War I had narrow fuselages, which often were not tall enough to block visibility to the rear, especially with seating positions that generally elevated the pilot's head well above the cockpit's edges. As planes became larger, heavier and faster, designs had to be made stronger, which often meant a taller rear fuselage, but designers tried to maintain the narrow fuselage for visibility. However, as speed continued to increase, it became necessary to enclose cockpits and in turn, streamlined aircraft so that they were faster. Increased G-loading during maneuvers forced pilots to wear tight, restrictive shoulder harnesses, and armor plating began to be installed to protect pilots from projectiles coming from behind. Unfortunately, these changes denied a pilot the ability to twist around and look directly behind. Mirrors offered some help, but he had a narrow field of view. Prior to bubble canopies, some aircraft, such as the P-40 Warhawk, featured a hybrid flush canopy design, combining a narrow rear fuselage with a glass enclosure conforming to the shape of a full-width fuselage. These often had a pair of recessed panels in the dorsal turtledeck structure, fed in with framed glazing that was flush to the fuselage surface. This provided increased visibility while still allowing a pilot to keep the canopy closed for greater performance. Examples of such recessed rear vision designs were the greenhouse canopied original F-4U-1 Corsair as well as the P-40. The bulged Malcolm hood, used for the Spitfire, F-4U Corsair, and P-51B Mustangs was another hybrid. While not offering as much visibility to the rear as the P-40 enjoyed, it allowed a pilot more visibility than a flush canopy would. Examples.